Hi, everyone. This is Ray Luskin. I'm an award-winning author, artist, activist, and the Creative Mindfulness Mentor. Welcome to the Creative Activist Women Who Dare Summit, a gathering of women working at the intersection of arts, health, and social change. This distinguished assembly of teachers, presenters, visionaries inspire us to take care of ourselves, give us the tools to be more resilient, the strategies to embrace our unique creative genius, so we can rise up and be the leaders of change, innovation, and creative solutions to our most pressing problems at home, our workplace, and in the world. And today I'm very excited. I have Marina Debris, an award-winning artist based in Sydney, Australia. And she is transforming garbage of others and objects into real works of art, from the dresses, trashion concept, which we'll talk about more, to impressive sculptures. I'm so glad you're here, and I'm very excited to learn more about you. I've heard wonderful things. Lisa told me all about you, and I had to meet you. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, first thing I want to ask, why did you choose a pseudonym, and why did you choose this one? The
reason I chose Marina Debris is because marine debris. I mean, a lot of people actually don't get it, which is funny. Originally I was Marina Debris, and people really didn't get it.
At that, and then this one you get, yes.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just thought it would be fun. I also thought it is an alter ego, although the alter ego has become me, or I have become her. So it is a bit confusing at times. Like my friends don't really know what to call me sometimes.
Okay, so why don't you tell people a little bit about your work, what and who inspired you to get to this place and do the work you're doing in the world?
Yeah, well, I grew up outside of New York City and I lived in the city for my early years. I went to Rhode, which Americans know, and I trained as a graphic artist and moved to New York City the second I could. I loved it, loved the culture, everything. I met a couple of Australians there, which was just coincidence. I watched a bunch of movies, Breaker Morant, Gallipoli, My Brilliant Career, Mad Max, and something really clicked with me. And a couple of my friends moved back to Australia, and I went to look. I took a look at the beach, and actually I moved to London first, which was really fun. I mean, just culturally incredible place. And I think the fashion, I've always loved fashion, and I actually wanted to be a fashion designer at RISD, but I thought the industry will eat me alive. I just thought I couldn't handle it mentally. And graphic design was, much more nerdy sort of field. And I loved it. I loved being a designer, really suited me in many ways. Moved to London for a year and a half. Friends moved back to Sydney, to Bondi Beach, which I'd heard a lot about as a horrible beach. And I took one look at the beach, and I thought, if this is your bad beach, I'm moving here. And I moved there. I am a Pisces. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. I love the ocean. I love art. I love culture. Those are my three kind of must-haves. Oh. And I lived here for 9 years in the 1900s as a graphic designer. I lived on Bondi Beach, which was considered the sort of scungiest beach. And
sort of like Venice Beach in California, sort of the
equivalent. Yeah. And funnily enough, and it was beautiful. It was absolutely stunning. I don't remember any rubbish. I do remember they had an issue with ocean outpour, like raw sewage being dumped into the ocean. And that was, a big issue back then. There are still some open raw sewage outlets here. which is quite shocking. And then I was kind of missing American, my family culture. So, and I always wanted to live in LA, Venice Beach. So I actually moved to Venice Beach. And I instantly noticed how much rubbish was washing up. It was like,
Was that really the first time you started noticing about the environment and what was going on?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was and it wasn't. I mean, I was always interested in the environment, but I never actively did anything about it. I did more work on sort of social causes, social justice issues, I guess, equality, things like that. But this was just so jarring to me that, I thought, well, have I been living in some alternative universe where there was this was not a thing, or I just didn't notice that. I don't know. Anyway, I just started, I was running on the beach every day, started collecting, and I just really didn't know what to do with it. I think it's in my bio that I would stack up cups from 7-Eleven and, like that. There's an old beautifully illustrated children's book. I can't remember the name, where I think the hats are stacked up.
Like Cat in the Hat, one of those books where where they keep going up and up. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just, and I thought, okay, these are all from 7-Eleven. I'm going to go into 7-Eleven. And I insisted on seeing the manager, and I just like shoved the cups in his face, and he just completely thought, yeah, what do you want me to do about it? And I knew that wasn't the answer. I just kept collecting, and then I got more involved with a lot of local groups like Heal the Bay and Five Gyres and Algalita and Sustainable Works, and a lot of environmental groups in LA, which there are a lot of, and learned more and more about the issue. And then it was like around 2009 when I actually just started, I just had this, I don't know, I had a lot of free time because work was sort of slow, I guess. I can't remember. I was a corporate designer, so I was doing a lot of work for corporations and annual report work. And I sort of had this angel devil thing going on. It's like, oh, you're working for the man, you're working for the
I can appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it became more of an issue, although I had a lot of really good clients as well that were, doing good things, but ultimately, it was a constant battle of, you're just making fat cats richer and not doing anything for the world. So I really missed working with my hands because, as you know, graphic design had become completely computers at that point. Yeah, it wasn't before, which is part of what I loved about it. And I just started creating. I started creating 3-dimensional pieces, 2-dimensional pieces, started working with all these groups, as I said.
So at this point, you were taking all the trash off the beach and creating. So you're talking plastic bags, you're talking about, plates and silverware, plasticware and everying.
Not silverware.
Not silverware, plasticware. Plasticware, yes.
Yes, lots of plasticware. Yeah, the same items, they're universal everywhere, takeaway containers and cigarette butts and fishing gear,
Yeah, well, fishing nets, that are broken and catch all these poor animals. So they're there. Yes.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and then a couple of the groups asked me to sort of display some of the works for their fundraisers, and that sort of started, like, I didn't take it seriously as a serious career or anything at that stage. It was just something to get my frustrations out, really. And then Heal the Bay asked me they were given a mannequin for the opening of Santa Monica Marketplace, and every local business was represented by a wearable piece of art. And they asked me to create something, and that just kind of triggered the whole trashion thing. And I started a line which I call Beach Couture, a hot mess. And it's kind of ever growing.
Do you have any pieces with you at all to show us some of your work?
I don't have any trashion here. You can see my work on Washed Up Us.
That's right. And
yeah,
you can find
anywhere.
pictures of her work all over. You just Google her and you will find her. So there's some actually stunning pictures from some of the different exhibits you've done and things like that. So yeah. Okay, well, you will get a chance to show us a few pieces at some point before we tune out today. So did COVID change anything for you as far as your work? And did you notice differences in the ocean and things like that, and the amount of debris, where you were walking? Because at one point, when people were staying in, all the animals, I mean, they talked about the oceans and animals were coming back and stuff. So I didn't know if the debris changed at all or anything like that. So
it's it's a bit of a double-edged sword, because I know I only know from where I live, but the amount of single-use takeaway, especially coffee cups, face masks, has gone off the charts. I mean, I pick up at least 4 or 5 face masks every day on the street. It's absolutely gone.
What do you do with them? How are you using them?
I'm making a wearable piece as we speak. I cannot disclose it yet.
Okay.
It's at
we'll
the
have
very.
To stay tuned at some future date. That's right.
Hopefully. I mean, we're in lockdown here, actually. So
you are okay.
We're in an opposite sort of situation, which is why, I mean, well, everyone's wearing face masks anyway, but so it's just been incredibly frustrating on that. And it's like, I just can't understand why we haven't learned, anything really. You don't, yes, you have to wear a face mask, but you don't wear a disposable one. And unless you're in the hospitality or hospital industry, of course. And I don't understand it. And you don't, if a cafe doesn't take reusable cups, you don't go to that cafe. And it's just gone completely off the charts here. And I'm just scratching my head. It's like, because we had gained quite a bit of momentum before COVID. We had a program here, a TV show called The War on Waste, and it was really very, very educational and fun. Like the Craig Rucastle, who was the narrator, and so I guess more than that, but very funny man. And he did all these, I guess you'd call them stunts, on all sorts of things that were problematic, that we are using single use and throwing it away. And there was some real momentum growing. There were schools getting involved, doing their own campaigns, and it was really becoming exciting. And then COVID hit, and just it all went completely, like forgotten. And so I don't know how we're gonna ever get back there. I really don't.
How long have you been in lockdown right now?
June, July.
Okay.
Something like that. Yeah, we had very few cases, and then until Delta hit, the Delta variant, and then because we had so few cases, I'm at liberty, I'm not at liberty to say, but I'll say it anyway. The government here did a terrible job with the vaccine rollout, absolutely terrible. So we're not even, we're getting close to, I think we're at around 50% vaccinated, fully vaccinated, but it's,
Do you have a lot of pushback? I'm just curious, because here you
Yeah,
have
there
the
were-
anti-vaxxers and yeah.
yeah, of course. There actually were riots apparently yesterday in Melbourne. Yeah, there's a lot of pushback. It's,
Okay.
it's pretty much the same everywhere, I think.
Yeah, I didn't know, you're in a whole nother, world that it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't know. And I was curious, I guess, before, and you're starting to talk about this, what was the government's role and how did they feel about environmental studies and accepting science and, those kinds of things? And, 'cause, we have those issues here that there was no science, right?
Yeah, it's problematic. We have a prime minister, we don't have a president. Our prime minister is on the right wing, American right wing.
Got it.
Not at all, I can't even, I don't think he totally believes in science, and he's not really on board with any, we have like the biggest coal production in this country, and we are the largest CO2 emitters per capita. We are also very large waste on the waste front per capita. We are a small country. However, we are pretty
Okay.
bad on the
Yeah.
on those issues.
So how do you, as an environmentalist and an environmental artist, trying to get education out there right now, especially with a government that's not really supporting it? How are you doing that and getting people to understand?
Well, I mean, personally, for me, I've had a show, I had a show at the Maritime Museum, which is quite a huge, well-known museum here, and that just ended in April. So I was able to really get some great impact there, and it was the largest show I've ever personally had. I had combined four different themes within it. They're all, of course, ocean pollution related, but I had the trashion, I had the inconvenience store, which I have some items here to show you.
Why don't you?
I have
ahead.
a new installation I did called Artifacts from the Anthropocene, where I took things that look like, so it was like a play on what you would see in an archaeological museum in the future, plastic, rubbish. But the things that I had were, looked like they were from archaeological digs. You couldn't quite tell what they were, but they were things like toothbrush, a heel of a shoe.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
It was really, I was super excited about it because they have these display, because it is a maritime museum, they have these display cases that were just stunning. And I really enjoyed getting that off the ground. That was really fun. And
were you able, do you have partners that help you, that fund you? How do you know? Okay, so everything's on your own. Okay.
Yeah, pretty completely. And then I had a series of movies or documentaries and artists that I've worked with, like dancers. I've worked with dancers occasionally, opera singer, wearing my outfits, and that's, so we had some video footage that was fun, and then another series that I did when I was in LA, a really early series called Pearls Before Swine, which were photographs of shells with rubbish inside, little bits that look like pearls. And the idea is, even back then, it was I was thinking, oh, it's like, do we deserve this beautiful earth,
Yeah.
and
And how do
hate
we
to say
protect
I'm
it? Yeah.
still there. But it also, as far as lockdown and government, at the same time as us being quite a wasteful society, we have a really amazing different groups of activists. So I've gotten involved with quite a few activist groups, and we do, when lockdown was not on, we were doing a lot of street action. Really, exciting. I think that's like one of the key drivers for change is,
All right, why don't you
like,
talk a little bit about that? Because I think everybody wants to know, when you say that, what do you mean?
yeah, well, the first group I got involved with, I guess, I don't know. I mean, I belong to two other groups called Plastic Free, whatever the beach is, and we do a lot of beach cleanups. We do movies, educational movies. This is all before lockdown as well. We work with our local council to do, just display items that you can use instead of single use. And we go into schools, etc. So those are, they're definitely, they're not activist groups per se, but they are local grassroots, organizations. We're trying to get local cafes to stop using single-use items as well. So that was one avenue to create change. And then the first group I think I got very involved with was Extinction Rebellion, which I highly recommend. I mean, they are just, they come up with some absolutely ingenious
Is this an
ideas.
Australian group or international group?
It's completely global.
Okay, I never heard of them. So what is it?
Oh my God, it's probably the largest movement. It's like Occupy Wall Street was, but I think it's even more successful it's everywhere.
Okay.
Extinction Rebellion, and then Greta Thunberg,
Right.
she started a school movement, school strikes, and students against climate change. I can't remember the name.
Right.
So sometimes they sort of band together. I don't know if they're
Well, she's the name, and she is a name everybody recognizes.
Everybody,
yeah. So
she's amazing. She
yeah,
is absolutely
I've
amazing.
heard her, listen to YouTube and things like that, and she is amazing.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, and for her age, the passion, the purpose, that she's so driven. And I do know people at young ages who are driven, who just know exactly who they are and what they're meant here to do in the world. And because I always talk to people, what is your passion? What is your purpose? What's your calling here, and what's the legacy you want to leave? So I think it's really important, and she is a great role model for that. So yeah,
absolutely. And it's a very hard, I imagine it's so hard because I as an adult, I find it really distressing and difficult to see, where we seem to be headed. It doesn't stop me from, constantly doing anything, because that's not an option, so but yeah, that group and they're so creative. Like, they come up with incredibly creative tactics. It's completely non-violent. That's one of their mantras. And it's also, they have a set of demands, which is super important, of the government. And they're not going to stop, which is great. It's more, I think it was started in England and very active in England, but here it's also very active. We have a lot of different offshoots, and we work together. I can't, I'm a little spread out. Like, I the other groups that I've been involved with there's a group called Stop Adani, which is trying to stop this massive coal mine, which is, going to be absolutely catastrophic and devastating to the environment. And they have been working tirelessly. They're amazing. They've actually stopped it for 10 years. They haven't stopped it future wise, but they've halted it for 10 years. And it's all from, really extreme direct actions of, whatever it takes, really. So those are so impressive, those groups. And then my other kind of passion is, and I just can't see a way forward without this, is I'm also very involved with animal activist groups, and we actually have a political party here called Animal Justice Party.
Oh,
and we are in Parliament. We are actually making laws, changing laws to that harm, well, everything harms animals. That's the problem, but it's all interconnected as well, because the animal agriculture industries is one of the biggest destroyers of climate. So, until we all get on board with that,
we all have to work together and recognize that the sanctity of all animals, of all the plants, the animals, the humans, and I think we've lost sight of that. So yeah. I wanted to ask you, okay, so I know that you said you did some programs for schools. So what would you say to parents? What would you tell them to do as far as educating their children? What do you think would be, I've got grandchildren, so I'd love to talk to them about this stuff. So got any ideas?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, I talk to kids a lot and they do seem to care, most of them. I don't know. It's a really fine line to not have them panic.
Right.
Freak out, like,
I think maybe doing an art project though with found objects might really be the easiest way for, I actually am going to California on Thursday to visit my grandkids who live near the beach, and see if we find time we can go pick up trash, and maybe do something with it. So, yeah, that's what I'm hoping. But
I mean, one thing that I try really hard to convey to everyone, not just kids, is that, I mean, picking up on the beach is great. Picking up on the street is great. It's all, helpful. But ultimately, we just have to stop using the stuff. That's really the bottom line. It has to stop going in there, into the ocean. It has to stop going into landfill. It's not doing any good in landfill either. It's creating methane, releasing methane.
And then you have fracking, and then you have this, and then
I mean,
it's endless.
We have to stop. And I think what's really hard, like I think back on my growing up, especially in New York, I didn't grow up in New York, but when I lived there, and I was a consumer of things as well. And if someone had told me, we're reaching a catastrophic, disaster, keep consuming, I would have been, get over yourself. At that age, I don't think I would have, I don't know if I would have cared or.
Well, I know that the only thing is, I would visit New York, and all I remember is the stench because the garbage out on the street, that just, in Chicago, we have alleys, so it'd be back in the alley and you wouldn't see it, but that's what I remember most from my youth, when I was visiting New York, So.
Yeah, we did have that. I mean,
so
part of the excitement of, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, New York has wonderful things too. Besides garbage, guys. Yes, I'm not putting New York down. It's got some gorgeous things. My daughter lived there for a few years, so so I get it. I wanted to ask you, why don't you show us some of your work while we're sitting here? What is behind you, beside in your white box?
Well, speaking of being a consumer, when I lived in London, this was a piece of jewelry that I saw in a store. And I kept thinking about it and thinking about it. It's handmade. It's absolutely beautiful.
Okay.
And it's the thing I've spent the most money on in my entire life. And I just love it. The rest are, these are
You know
made.
what? It's okay to love something. I mean, we can't, I mean, I believe in the power of beauty. And that
yeah,
as artists, that is one of my core values, is sharing beauty, whatever that is, and embracing it in my own life, because I really think that's important, you know. So it's okay to have something that you can, a consumer item that you just adore. It's okay.
Oh,
So,
yeah. And most of, I used to only really purchase sort of one-off things by artists. This is another, there's a piece up here. I have a lot of artworks that I bought in LA or, you know, totally one-offs. There's nothing wrong with art, of course.
Right. I know this
one-off.
year I went to the art fairs this summer, and I was trying to buy pieces at the art fair to support the artists who haven't been able to be out there and sharing their work. So, you know, and I bought like, well, I did buy this tree, which I just love. So I'm out in nature all the time. So I love what he did with the glass, and it's a stone from the Lake Superior, and you know, I just loved it. And you know, so those kinds of things. And then I actually bought myself it's sort of like a footstool bench, but it is upholstered, and it looks like a Van Gogh painting. And she actually appliqued flowers on it, and it was just like, to me, it's a piece of art, and I just fell in love. And I said, I want to support the arts community, you know, in any way I can. So it's really important. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, these are funny. My ex-boyfriend's mother used to make dolls.
Okay.
So I inherited boxes of doll parts, and these are from a fence that an old fence. So it's all reused. I do a lot of things with reusable items.
Right.
So, you know, that's the clock, for instance, which is boring, is, you know, very boring, but I found it on the street. Right. My entire kitchen is from the street. All my electronics, all of them. Every single one. They throw out incredibly good, useful things here on the street. It's just appalling. That's a whole nother issue. But so the inconvenience store, I think I physically had it built in 2017 for a sculpture show. And it's basically exactly like a convenience store, but the idea is that everything inside is something I found on the beach, and it's all items that you would get at a convenience store.
But you found it on the beach,
Yeah, and I repackaged it only strictly using found repackaged packaging materials, the paper, the cardboard, the plastic, everything is from the street or garbage bins. So even most of the display stands were from the street, like sunglasses.
That's incredible.
Stands. Unbelievable. So these are some of the items. I just have a few. This is
oh, how interesting. Yeah.
Here they're not called Q-tips here, they're called cotton buds.
Okay.
So and I had a lot of fun as a graphic designer. I kind of had quite a bit of fun with the naming and the let's see, what else have I got? Obviously, you know that surfing is huge here. I find a lot of these. I don't know
what that is. What is that?
It's a leash for a surfboard.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that, but got it. Okay.
Off leash. What else? I mean, these are all things so I have a small display of these items at a local coffee shop. This is
out of body. Okay.
Oops. It's a tampon.
Huh. Wow.
So
out of body, that's a good name. Yep. Okay.
it's not, it's meant to be in your face a bit, and because
Yeah.
this is the reality. This is what I find.
Wow.
So,
Unbelievable.
I don't glorify anything. I don't clean anything. I think that's probably what sets me apart mostly from other
You use it just as
trash
is.
artists.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want it to be shocking. These are trimmer lines from, weed whackers,
Oh, okay.
which I find all the time, when people do weed whacking, they leave the ends, they don't pick them up. So it's all meant to really educate us that this is not, it's gonna end up in the ocean. From fish aquariums,
Oh, wow.
you
Okay.
can imagine, it's scary that I'm sure some people dump fish out there, which is really scary. We've got our fishing gear, which I find a lot of.
Okay. Yeah, stuff. I love what you created. That's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this was actually, it won a lot of awards, which was fantastic. And I manned the store for a couple, quite a while, so I could hear people's comments because they didn't know who I was, that I was the artist.
Right.
And a lot of people, like, they instantly understood where everything came from.
High and dry. Okay. Clothespins. Got it. Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
But
don't
it's-
think about those on the beach, washing up on the beach. Yeah.
Well, everything comes from the street, so they
Yeah.
go down the storm drain into the ocean.
Wow.
Even if you think you're throwing it away,
Interesting. Yeah.
as they say, there is no away, which is this is yeah. You kind of can't tell what that is, but
Looks like a glove. I don't know.
yeah,
It's a
it is.
rubber glove. Hey, I got one. Who knew?
It's more obvious. Oops, that's quite a messed up label. Wow.
Well, thank you. This has been really wonderful. I have one or two questions before we
One more.
end. Yeah, one more. Go for it. What is that? That looks like balls of some sort. Drop balls. All right.
It's kind of a young boy
Yeah.
gag.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, sort of. I got it. All right. I love your sense of humor too. I have to tell you.
Yeah, it's really fun actually to, like, if I didn't have humor, I'd be in much sorrier.
So thinking ahead, what is something that you're working on that you want to create in the next year or two? Is there some project, that you're thinking about?
Yeah, I am actually, I'm in a outdoor exhibition called Sculpture by the Sea, which is fantastic here. It's all along the coastal walk here where I live. It's very popular. They had to postpone it this year because it gets so crowded. I've been in it 3-4 times, and I've proposed a piece called Just a Drop in the Ocean, which is talks about how, and the subtitle is said 7.8 billion people. So in other words, like I've talked to people and say, well, why are you using a single use coffee cup, or for instance, whatever, and they'll say, oh, I'm just one person, and it can work both ways. I'm just one person. I don't add that much, said 7.8 billion people, or I'm just one person. You could be Greta Thunberg, So yeah, that's a piece I have started, but that will be next year on display. It's going to be quite a large piece and difficult to fabricate. So
well, I'm excited. I can't wait to see more and hear more from you. And I so appreciate you being part of the Women Who Dare today. And I'm just going to close with one of my favorite quotes. It's by Helen Keller. Alone, we can do so little. Together, we can do so much. And I want to thank you and all the visionaries who participated in this wonderful summit, because they're giving ideas. And I think you're an inspiration for anybody who wants to, make a difference, and you're using your art, you're using your passion, your purpose. Okay, one last question and then we're done. So what is the legacy you'd like to leave?
Oh, she she died trying. I don't know.
Okay, that's all right. I really appreciate you being here, and thank you again. And everybody, look forward. We're going to have more interviews just as fabulous as this. Thank you.
Thank you.